This is Cybert signing into Red Alert 3 on the map Hostile Dawn in another Gen Evo mod match. A 3v3 featuring, well, as the somewhat explosive blue GLA Vanilla in the north, Seguro, one of the developers of the mod, as the brown USA superweapon in the corner. This is Xouth. And as the China tank playing Cyan, this is TheDoc. Meanwhile, on the south side of the map, as the very bright green USA laser, this is Spam Alt F4. As the red China infantry, this is Castellion. And as the blue USA laser, this is Fury 67. 6 players, many different factions, although in the north we do have sort of a perfect distribution. 1 GLA, 1 China, 1 USA, all joining forces. Meanwhile, in the south, 2 USA laser and a China infantry. So there's definitely a lot of firepower coming from the southern team, and we'll see if our northern team is able to match it. And also we do have a blue, a light blue, and a cyan. So we will see how confused I get. Fortunately, they're all 3 different factions, so I'm going to try and keep them straight. Many changes from 0 Hour to Gen Evo, one of them being the laser Humvee, as we're seeing give chase to a couple of GLA technicals coming in from Seguro. And Seguro actually doing a pretty good job. He's nailed like maybe 3 or 4 supply trucks in total. He has really been cutting down the early game economy of his opponents. And it looks like he's also been capturing a couple of oil derricks in the northern part of the map. By the way, there is a garage here as well, and one in the south, so those should be focal points for these players to fight over and potentially capture and keep for as long as they can. Middle of the map has divided up a bit more evenly. Looks like the one oil derrick going to one member of each team at least. Minigunner coming in, gets the snipe on the engineer. Xouth not going to be able to grab that oil derrick away from Castellion too easily. Seguro comes in with another technical run by 5 technicals sneaking into his opponent's base, once again focusing on these early game attacks with the technicals and going immediately for the kills, mostly focusing on supply trucks. Man, that dozer really does take a beating, and then that is sort of a command center expansion setup point there, and that's why the dozer does have so much more health than it would in Gen Evo, of course, or in 0 Hour, excuse me. Of course, the building mechanics in Gen Evo are quite a bit different, and again, I think that is a bit of a function of the fact that this is a Red Alert 3 mod, and not a completely custom game built from the ground up with all of the logic and the game mechanics that they would want. 2 more supply trucks getting targeted down. The damage does not stop from Xouth, and we literally have like 3 paladins just standing by watching, or even laser paladins, as they are the laser general, standing by watching. There is a Patriot laser system. It does manage to clean up a couple of these technicals, and I think we'll get this technical on the exit. No! Seguro does manage to escape with 1 technical out the back, but this Humvee may indeed deal with that heroic technical there from Seguro. Fury manages to grab both of his oil derricks there in the northern corner of the map. No one has grabbed the garages just yet. A couple of units placed near them might try and poke in and prod. Laser Humvee with rockets inside of it, just trying to poke and prod at these GLA forces. Eventually, the Laser Humvee does go down. It looks like Seguro is going to be able to get that kill, and already 3 minutes and 40 seconds on the clock for Xouth's first super weapon. He knows that his job is to get a whole bunch of particle cannons up and running so that he can burn through his opponents. And with the relatively short 4-minute countdown timer from those particle cannons, they do reload quite quickly when you've got 3 of them on the map, and either you can let them all time out together and fire one massive triple beam particle cannon essentially, or you can use them regularly and essentially use them as offensive or defensive abilities and cut down your opponent's army as they try to assault you. Looks like Spam going in for a bit of attack there in the base, but this listening outpost is getting cut down. Castellion going to be able to cut down the listening outpost of his opponent, and that is a ton of debris. I think there might be something a little bit problematic about the way those damage indicators do happen. That looks so funny, all of the explosions just happening constantly as that listening outpost takes forever to die to the Gatling cannon. Xouth may not have control of the middle of the map for very much longer if anyone gets an eye on these tanks and decides to move out against them. Or maybe Xouth will just be able to hold this middle of the map forever and no one will ever oppose his tanks there. Looks like a couple of particle tanks did get caught by that Warthog strike. The particle tank is the Laser General Tomahawk replacement. So it's a bit different from a Tomahawk, but it serves the same sort of artillery role. Laser Paladins against Segoro's GLA forces, and Xouth bringing his Paladins along as well. Segoro taking the brunt of the damage, but maybe Xouth can actually do the infrastructure damage and strike down the War Factory. Segoro getting slowly picked apart by these laser and now China infantry forces coming in together to defeat the combo of Xouth and Segoro. Which, by the way, I don't think we've seen the Taskmaster tank just yet in one of these new Gen Evo 0.3 matches. War Factory on the right side of the map from Xouth is getting shut down. Patriot missile EMP system is being established by Xouth, so he's trying to take this little corner expansion area, and Castellion was doing a pretty good job of holding it down with his one single chain gun, but it won't last forever, and now, well, the Warthogs don't all land. Those A-10s did not manage to even strike a single oil derrick down. They did get one tank, though. They did kill one tank, but not as big of a killing blow as I think Fury or Spam was expecting. And I think Spam, or Fury, has actually grabbed all 4 of these oil derricks, which is quite good. It feels like the garages, with how vehicle-heavy Gen Evo is, and, you know, how many vehicles get built in a match, it really does feel like these garages would be extremely powerful. I assume they do the same thing that they do in Red Alert 3, and they just provide mobile repairs to units constantly, which is extremely powerful over time, especially if you have a little bit of micro to keep your units alive a little bit longer. 10 seconds on the first particle cannon. I'm actually kind of surprised that there's only one been built up to this point. Xouth seems so dead set on getting those particle cannons up quickly, but I'm kind of surprised he's only gotten the one. Segoro and Xouth may actually join together in this assault. We'll see where the particle cannon actually decides to land, as the particle tank finding its mark. And, well, 2 particle tanks in the back can slowly work away at the army of Segoro. Segoro comes up the ramp, but will he be able to actually move any further forward? Fury 67 here with the defense slowly burning through the forces of Segoro, and Xouth providing no support from the sky. Although there is a bunker coming up from Castellion, and he's sending some minigunners into it, and also a laser system coming up as well. Some additional defense there from Fury to defend his homeland. The middle of the map may sort of become a no man's land, and actually, I guess it does have these corner oil derricks, but no real expansions to go out and fight over in the middle of the map. That's kind of curious that on this particular map, the only points of interest in between the bases are those capturable tech structures. Well, that particle cannon timed out quite nicely with the other 2 that just finished construction for Xouth. He zaps the strategy center of Spamalot, and Spam will not have the opportunity to get his own particle cannon up quite as quickly as Xouth did. And now Xouth is probably just going to try and... Ooh, the Warthog's almost finding the mark there. Xouth is probably going to be doing a little bit of whack-a-mole with his 3 particle cannons on any super weapons that his opponents build. So that may sort of be the strategy for Xouth. I'm not sure if these guys were playing random, you know, if all 6 players win in random, and this is just what they got dealt, or if they did indeed choose their factions. But Xouth going absolutely crazy with this construction. An additional 2-3 war factories being added on to the middle of the map. If you count this one way over here, he's added on 2 command centers in the middle of the map as well, and it's going to be supporting his EMP Patriot missile systems and a supply drop zone over there. So that's how he's going to be able to afford all of this, is he's adding on that additional secondary income. I guess someone did manage to grab that building, and Xouth also gets the garage and the structure nearby. So if he ever builds any more vehicles, which he might just stick with his particle cannons, but once he builds those vehicles, he's going to get those repairs, and that'll super benefit the 100 war factories that he has deployed into the middle of the map. Fury 67, it looks like, has added on his own laser particle cannon, so I think that'll probably be the first target of Xouth. And this is sort of the question that you have to ask yourself when you've got these super weapons. Do you use it to delete your opponent's army or your opponent's super weapon so that your army can do its work without being impeded by your opponent? And we'll just see Alpha Aurora coming in here, I think, as I know that might just be a regular Aurora, but it doesn't quite have the punch of the Alpha. Battle's starting to break out all over the place. TheDoc adds his own nuclear missile, and it looks like Segoro will be defeated there at the bottom of the ramp. Raptor comes in from Spamalot to add into the destruction and to try and push back the team in the north. The war factories may not all stand, but Xouth has bought himself a big chunk of the middle of the map, and he's going to try and go straight up the ramp. A minute and a half on those particle cannons, so they will not be a factor in this fight. Microwave tanks being added on. The infantry forces of Xouth had better beware, as the particle tanks just make short work, potentially, of the opponent vehicles. Xouth's vehicles looking strong at first, but absolutely getting shredded by the forces of Spam Alt F4. The Tomahawks for Xouth finding their little bits of damage, but not enough to stop the laser particle tanks, which actually do end up turning around to engage the direct forces of Xouth. Xouth continuing to build more and more buildings in the middle of the map. Those particle tanks trying to shut down the Patriot missile systems before they come online. Tomahawks onto the high ground. They find their mark against those rocket squads, and Xouth's infantry seem to be leading the charge with these sentry tanks, these sentry drones, to defeat the forces of Spam. Spam actually crushed the tanks of Xouth pretty darn quickly, and the Raptor comes through, cleaning up some of the Doc's reinforcements. A nuke cannon has been added into the mix, making this even more difficult to assault up this hill. Tomahawks trying to find their mark. Nuke cannon will land on the infantry and on the barracks. The defenses of Xouth seeking to absorb the damage from our team in the south, and the particle cannon finds the nukes. Every single cannon goes down, and Xouth says the army is mine. One particle cannon used extremely strategically there to cut down the forces. Meanwhile, the other 2 used on the particle cannon of Fury 67 with only a minute left. He burns it down. Artillery fires off. Meanwhile, it looks like our forces from the north have mostly been routed. The defense in Gen Evo is very strong, and it is hard to break through these choke points that are so prevalent on so many of these maps, leading these games to turn into just absolute slugfests. Emperor Overlord is here on the battlefield, and he does chew his way through at least one of these laser tanks. Segoro adds on his super weapons, and this means that is 3 different super weapons for our team in the north, 0 super weapons for our team in the south, and of course a total of 5 total super weapons between the 3 players in the north. Xouth has both of the garages as well. Particle tanks get eliminated. A perfect Warthog strike there coming in for Xouth. despite all of the damage being done by Xouth and the team in the north, it just seems like our team in the south's defense is too strong. Walking up these ramps is too difficult a task at the current moment. The Moab finds its mark, the oil derricks get cleared, and Xouth's center of the map foothold is being pushed further and further back. Artillery is the name of the game. These particle tanks from the high ground. Oh, Castellion has added on his own nuke. I don't think it'll survive. It might take all 3 particle cannons to burn it down. I'm not sure what the numbers are. I think in original 0 hour, it only takes 2 particle cannons to burn down any of the super weapons or any of the kind of heavy buildings like a command center or a palace or something like that. But I'm not sure if that's been tuned in Gen Evo. What in the world? The fresh airfield. The airfield is such a giant dot on the mini-map. Xouth adds an airfield. Alpha Auroras could be critical to breaking this artillery wall, and truly, Castellion, Spam, Fury, they have all sort of figured out that artillery is the way to go. Carpet bombing coming in. No, it's a fuel air bomb as Xouth deletes the particle cannons on the high ground. The A-10 Warthogs come through for a pass, and the MiGs are coming in for another run-by. They're going for the War Factory, and they do finally get it! The firestorm begins, and unfortunately for Spam, his forces a little bit too close to that firestorm, catching some of the wind there and taking some of that damage. Base defenses being added on all over the place on both sides of the map, just to be deleted almost immediately by those artillery from our team on the south side. Surprise tunnel attack doesn't go anywhere. Seguro trying to find some kind of inroad to his opponent's base. Those EMP Patriots find some kind of damage, and the carpet bombing clears some of the front line of Seguro, Xouth, and TheDoc. TheDoc's Chinese tank coming to the front line, but there are so many nuke cannons, so many particle cannons on the high ground that they just chew through these vehicles as they close the distance. Now the particle cannon firing off here as tank after tank goes down, and the nuke finds its damage against the power plants of Fury. Another particle cannon firing off. Xouth hunting tanks one after another. Going for the power plants might be the smartest move to quickly help shut down the front line, because those base defenses being added on makes the assault that much more difficult. So many Patriot laser systems get added to the middle of the map, and a whole bunch of minigunners here in the middle. I'm not sure how they made their way to the middle, perhaps out of a troop transport. Castellion may have built an assault troop transport and sent them there to the middle of the map. TheDoc finally crushes those forces. Carpet bombing doesn't quite land. Xouth's forces in the south getting pushed back by Spam's rockets. Seguro's GLA forces are starting to make headways in the north, but will they be able to make it up the ramp? The middle of the map seems to be under the control of our team in the north, but making their way up the ramps to actually deal critical infrastructure damage to their opponents is a much more difficult task. This carpet bombing that's coming in has already taken so much damage. Nuke cannon finds its mark. The choke points are so difficult to overcome. Castellion and Spamalot coming down the ramp to circle around the back of the Doc's forces. Meanwhile, Comanche's coming in from Xouth to cut off the reinforcements. Scudstorm crashes into Castellion's base, and the base defenses do nothing without the power needed to run them. Seguro's sneak attacks causing havoc for Spam Alt F4, but is it enough to actually break his economy? to break his production. Spam Alt F4 responding with laser tanks to the south. And he's going to be able to push Seguro back into the tunnel and down underground. Seguro bringing the damage, but ultimately not enough to cut down Spam. He might be able to trade out kind of okay against these tanks, and indeed a good number of Laser Paladins going down. Eventually, the sneak attack will be silenced, and this is just so much everything from our team in the north. TheDoc finding a little bit of trouble to engage with his helixes. It seems like the anti-air is sort of outranging him and giving him grief before he can even close the distance to assault his opponents. His helixes are being cut to shreds. Those minigunners just destroying the helixes. We've seen in some other matches those helixes be quite effective, but in this game, they were completely useless, just dead weight, as the anti-air capabilities of both teams seem very competent. Those quad cannons and the minigunners just absolutely destroying the aircraft of the opponent. Carpet bombing misses the tomahawks as Seguro tries to step forward, but a second carpet bombing, or maybe a Moab? No, a second carpet bombing finds the line of tomahawks, removing a couple of them. And as he tries to come down his ramp, Spamalot finds the particle cannon as Xouth brings once again his incredible purple power to bear. Ready to go with round 4 or 5. Xouth knows what a fireworks show is, and he is happy to oblige. Those nuke cannons on the high ground, again, causing so much trouble for Seguro and Xouth as they try and assault up that hill. Little bits of attacks coming in. Another sneak attack, though, and this time going for the command center, trying to, again, cut off the infrastructure as Seguro. The only way that he's been able to make inroads against the team in the south, as Spam Alt F4 has been defeated, is with these sneak attacks. Fuel air bomb on top of a carpet bombing, on top of a sneak attack, all coming together, trying to get everything. The War Factory, the command center, as much as they can. MiGs bring the Firestorm against the War Factory of Castellion, and almost in a solitary chain of events, they were able to break down Castellion, but just he was able to survive. And at this point, Spam Alt F4's remainders are being chewed through by Xouth. An insane amount of aggression coming from our team in the north. Just a non-stop barrage of sacrificial units trying to break up these ramps. So many super weapons enacted as well, and yet they're just barely breaking through. It really is that combination of super weapons, support powers, and ground forces that allow them to break through. And even then, Castellion's minigunners just shred so many tanks and so many units from Xouth, TheDoc, and Seguro. I think they're finally going to be able to do it. An Armadillo outpost here to stay from Xouth. He is bringing reinforcements directly onto the front line of his opponent. He says, it's not enough to bring my tanks to your base. I'm bringing my base to your base. As his reinforcements will be as close as his opponents. The noose is tightening. The time is ticking. And the Firestorm is here to bring down that command center. Even the Dragon Tank being mixed in. Dragon Tank, something we see a ton in 0 Hour and much more rarely here in Gen Evo. Castellion bringing the carpet bombing, his last hope to try and clear out this army. but it looks like it's a big miss. He gets a couple of tanks with it, but it looks like the main brunt of Xouth's forces push on past and keep up the assault. Seguro with another sneak attack. And finally, Castellion has been defeated. Anthrax coating the area. And just slowly but surely, our team in the north has been crushing through everything. I got the armadillo. It doesn't do anything to stop the final assault, but it does stop that outpost. Even into the very corner of the map, this army goes. They're here to break it down. Another gigantic slugfest courtesy of General's Evolution. The Internet Center providing money to the last minute. But money alone will not save you. And it looks like Fury calls it quits as well. Seguro, Xouth, and TheDoc taking the middle of the map and then using that as their focal point to just punch, punch, punch through the defenses. Eventually, a pure combination of numbers and firepower were able to break through. And how many sneak attacks from Seguro before he finally did any damage of substance. But that'll do it for another explosive and sacrificial 3v3 in Gen Evo. Thank you all very much for watching, and this is Cyber signing out.